Hello, dear listeners, and welcome, kind of, to We Watched a Thing, but not really, though, because sadly, Dave is sick this week, so he's not been able to get to the Meg, although I did, and it fucking slaps, spoiler alert, and he doesn't really have a voice, so we were unable to record this week, but instead, please enjoy this first episode of our new bonus series, which is exclusively through Patreon, The Hunt for the Perfect Album, where Dave and I take turns giving each other an album that we absolutely adore and think is perfect from start to finish, to see if the other person enjoys it as well. We're 6 episodes in, and so far we've had mostly successes, although none that we would dub a perfect album. But to kick us off, I just thought that since we weren't able to record this week, I'd share episode 1 with you guys instead. So if you're interested and want to hear more of the series, you can do that over at patreon.com/We Watched a Thing. Enjoy.
And now, The Hunt for the Perfect Album.
Hello everybody and welcome to the inaugural episode, the pilot, if you will, of We Listened to a Thing. Ain't that right, Dave?
I did. We did. We listened to a thing.
We did.
This is awesome.
This is something we've been kicking around for a while because as well as films, you and I both love and adore music. And I think this is going to be interesting because we do have very similar tastes in a lot of ways, but also very different. I don't have the same love of a musical as you do. So I don't know. I think this is going to be fun. So basically, I think what we're doing really is what we're going to dub the hunt for the perfect album. We're going to assign each other an album that we feel has no skippable tracks, that we feel is just perfect from start to finish. We listen
All
to
killer,
the album,
no filler.
Yeah, we listen to the album, we come back, and we basically just break it down track by track. So I think this is going to be really, really fun. Do you have like a list of albums ready to go?
Yeah, I live my life with lists in my head, so I can pull stuff out at a moment's notice.
I know that you're a lister. I never did like the whole top 5 thing on the show until you came in, and I think it's really fun now since we started doing that. So
yeah, ever since High Fidelity.
Yeah, yep.
I watched that and I just went, that's how my brain works.
Man, that's a great movie. And a great soundtrack, speaking of music. So, to kick things off, I have sent you away with one of my favourite albums. I said, go have a listen to this. Relatively new. This album was released in 2017. And this was the debut album of a group out of New York City called Charly Bliss. Had you heard of Charly Bliss before I assigned you this album?
Nope.
No. Yeah. I didn't think so. That, you know, people who have listened to me talk music before, you know, maybe through my guest spots on the Countdown or anything, know that I'm a massive indie head. I love indie pop, I love grunge, I love alternative, and I think that this album in particular hits a lot of those. I would call this like power pop grunge, this album. It's kind of, I don't know if you're a fan of Ween, but it's kind of Weenish.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. I discovered this album through Spotify, related artists. That's how I find a ton of music these days. I listen to music I like. You know, the amount of times I've scrolled down to the bottom of the Lucksmiths page and just scrolled through related artists to find new, interesting music that isn't getting spoken about elsewhere. So that's how I discovered these guys. And honestly, since the Lucksmiths, I would say that Charly Bliss are my first kind of musical obsession. They're the first group that I have been like deeply in love with as a group. They're the only group of the last kind of 10 years that's done that for me. You know, mostly I just re-listened to The Cure. So first time I listened to this album, I did it exactly as I've asked you to do, start to finish, no skips, and I've listened to this album countless times since then. And at some point, they've only released 2. At some point I might give you their next album as well, which is wildly different. But let's get straight into it then. Starting from track 1, give me your thoughts on Guppy by Charly Bliss.
Well, the first thing that struck me, as you said, this is, I mean, if you remove the vocals, this is early 90s Seattle grunge.
100%, yeah.
But then you've got this baby voice bubblegum pop vocal.
Yeah.
That I mean, it works. It really works. Straight away, I thought there's a huge amount of DNA in common with a band I love called Veruca Salt.
Yes, I'm a big Veruca Salt fan as well. Yep.
Not quite. I mean, they don't have quite the kind of baby voice vocals.
Yeah.
But it is still that kind of poppy grunge.
Yeah.
These guys. When did they? I did look this up. They started in like 2011.
They
or something.
did. Yeah, they've been going for a long time. So the lead singer.
So
Eva,
they're a little bit past the kind of heyday of that Seattle grunge period.
Yeah.
But they've dove in head first, and yeah, I mean, I loved this album.
Oh yes,
I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Excellent.
There were no tracks that I wouldn't have skipped anyway because
that's the rules.
doing my homework. Yeah. But I wouldn't have anyway. There's no tracks that I kind of got halfway through and went, oh, you go.
Yeah.
Is Billy going to know if I go to the next one?
Yeah.
I've only listened to it all the way through twice.
Yep.
There's a few songs that I've listened to a few times more. There's one song that I've listened to about 7 times, and I'll get to the reason for that.
Okay.
In a minute. But I mean, a few of the tracks, the first 3 or 4 tracks, probably my favourites, I would say.
Yep.
And I think it's the last track, or one of the last tracks, that's called Julia,
that
which I
is the
really,
final
really
track.
liked as
Yep.
well. That's another one that sort of sticks in my mind as one that I noticed in particular listening through and went, oh, fuck, I really like this one.
Yeah, that one's very grungy. That one's really kind of dirgy and almost 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, it's the kind of, I don't know how much of, and you can probably answer this, how much of the Eve or Eva's voice, how much of that baby voice is kind of put on as her style,
Yeah.
and how much is actually, because Julia from memory doesn't have as much of that kind of almost childlike voice.
Yeah. Some friends that I've made listen to this album refer to her as the chipmunk, which I think is unfair because I fucking love Eva. I think she's a gun. She's a great lyricist to start with. I think the lyrics to this album are some of the best, lyrics work that I've ever heard. It is put on a little bit. When you hear her talk, she doesn't sound, for example, like Joey Lauren Adams, who has that voice.
She's not
natural.
Yardley Smith.
Yeah. But it is there a little bit. Like, they are very, very young. When this album came out, they were early 20s, like 21, 22. So you think about how young they were when they first got together in 5 years prior to this and were writing these songs.
I did get a sense of how young they are compared to me when I read that the guitarist was the voice of Dash in The Incredibles in 2004.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think he's the oldest of the group. So Eva and the drummer are brother and sister, Eva and Sam. And Eva met Dash at music school. And that's when they started kind of collaborating together. And at first it was just a duo. It was just her and Dash, and it was very kind of folky. And then they got more into that kind of grunge sound, and they just keep evolving. Their more recent album is straight up pop. power pop.
Oh, wow.
And there's still a lot of kind of electric guitars and stuff in there, and they're still, they're playing real instruments. But it almost has, some songs almost have a Taylor Swift-esque sound to them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like they just keep evolving, and I will at some point give you that album to listen to as well. So don't dig into that just yet.
Well, I haven't. If I just stumbled across this, my next thing would have been to jump on YouTube and go watch some live performances.
Oh, definitely do it. Their live performances are amazing.
I've not done that. I have no idea what they look like.
Yeah,
but from listening to the album, I'm picturing kind of power stance, Seattle grunge, long greasy hair, flannelette wearing, 3-chord Seattle.
yeah.
That's what I'm picturing.
Couldn't be more wrong. Even in video clips or performances from this album before they went full pop, she's quite often in like a massive frilly tutu.
Oh my God.
She's very, very pretty, but very, very grungy as well, of course. Like it's, yeah. So let's kick it off with Percolator, the first track. What was, you said that your introduction to this, you heard the kind of Seattle grunge and then the baby voice.
So Percolator I liked. It's not the one that kind of really grabbed me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I thought, oh yeah, I can get on board with this. Sounds like Veruca Salt. It was, I think, and I'm not, I can't remember which. It's either Westermark or Glitter, the second or third song that I just went, fuck, I love this track. And I then went and those are the two that I've listened to
Same.
3 or 4 times.
I love those songs. Westermark is one of my favorites.
Cardboard cereal eating me inside from across your room. I saw second cousins kissing on the lawn. We will never speak again. Would you believe me if I was right? Scar on your face from the birthday fight.
And Glitter is my daughter's favorites, which I know is wildly inappropriate, but they both love that song.
Can't stop shitting where you eat. You're a joker, I'm just mean. I can't come and I can't lie. I can't stop making myself cry. I'll have my cake and eat it too. I wish I could be good to you. Am I the best or just the first person to say best?
The one that I've listened to at least 7 times is Black Hole.
Yeah, okay.
The reason
She's got her toe
being-
in the cornhole.
The minute that song started, it reminded me of something, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was.
Yeah, okay.
Aside from it sounds like Veruca Salt with the baby voice, and something about the vocals kept on kind of nibbling at my memory, and I couldn't. It took me hours, and I kept on rewinding and listening to just snippets over and over and over again. Just, when something's just at the tip of your tongue, or just you can't, and you're just like, oh my God. And I'd be listening to it, and I'd like pause the song because I'd almost have it, and then go, no, fuck, lost it. So I'd start it again, and I finally worked out what it was. And having gone and then listened to that, it's not that similar. I'm going to play it for you. I don't know if you will have ever heard this, because I got to a point listening to it where I was like, I don't know why, but this is reminding me of Regurgitator.
Yeah, I can see what you're getting at. They do have a Regurgitator.
I went and I played through Unit. I played skip it, going, there's a song here that I'm forgetting because and it's not. But Quan from Regurgitator at the time was, and I can't remember her name, he was going out with the chick from Spider Bait.
Yeah,
Can't
okay,
remember her
yeah,
name
yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And they had a project called Happy Land.
Yeah.
Do you recall Happy Land?
I don't know.
All right, I'm going to put this on and tell me if you can get why it stuck in my mind. If I've got it queued up properly.
Party with Timmy, he's smoking crack with Billy. Those guys are so funny.
Kind of.
I think it's the baby voice.
Yeah, I think it is, because that's a lot poppier and more upbeat. Black Hole is one of the more kind of grungy, dirgy numbers. But I can kind of see what you're getting at.
She's got her toe in the corner, bleeding out in a snow cone. Lost my will to the black hole, stuck my gum on his soul. Smoke the last of the bad pipe. Listen in on your right.
Yeah, hopefully when you edit this, you can stick a snippet
I
of
will,
Black Hole in
yeah.
after that. And anyone listeners, if you can hear where my crazy brain drew that connection, please let us know, because I felt so pleased with myself when I finally worked it out. And then when I went and listened to Happy Lady, I was like, it's not that fucking similar. I'm super proud of myself for working it out, and it's not going to keep me up at night.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, let me ask, are there any tracks that you didn't enjoy, or, you know, that you would not listen to again? Like, if you were to throw in this album a second time, do you feel there are skippable tracks there?
No. There are 3 or 4. So the first 4 up to Black Hole.
Yeah.
Are probably the ones that I enjoyed the most. I enjoyed all the rest, but if I'm honest, I need to listen to it a few more times to really differentiate. But I couldn't tell you between those other ones which ones were a standout or not, apart from
Julia.
Yeah. And I think the one before Julia, is it Totalizer?
Yes,
I
that's the second
that I
last
liked as
track.
well.
Yeah.
Kiss me by the black rock. I smell your chapstick on the top down. My friends forgot my number. Oh well, I wish for you to come first. Some things happen fast when you're asking for it. He lives under glass, couldn't hear you through it. Baby, make it back. I wasn't ready for it.
The ones before that, I know I enjoyed them all, but they're not standing out
Yeah.
one from the other in my mind.
Yeah, fair enough.
How about you? What do you have any favourites in amongst those that?
I mean, like I said, I still to this day, I can't tell you how many times I've listened to this album. Charly Bliss have been my number one artist on Spotify for the last, 5 years, ever since this album came out.
Wow.
I love their second album as well. It took me a little while to warm to because, like I said, it is so different. And they have just last week released their first song in 4 years, and I already have listened to that about, 25 times. So there's not a single track on this album that I skip. If I was going to say what I think is the weakest, it would probably be track 8, which is Gatorade.
Everybody's reaching out to me. Everybody's reaching out to me.
Yeah, Scare You, Ruby, and DQ are the other ones that I couldn't. I know I enjoyed them, but I couldn't tell you which one from the other at this point. But I will eventually, because I'll definitely be listening to this many, many more times.
Yeah, nice. Well, this is good. The fact that you liked this has given me lots of other bands to think about for this.
I'm gonna make. I hadn't decided until this very moment. I'm making a call now. This is now the third album you've put me onto that I will be buying on vinyl. There you go. You managed to con me into getting Warmer Corners because...
Oh, fuck. In fact, speaking of, I mean, I'm like the world's biggest Lucksmiths fan. They just brought out Untidy Towns on vinyl as well, which is probably their best album. So they're still dropping the odd
You
vinyl.
said fucking Warmer Corners was their best album.
Oh, look, I could tell you any album of theirs is their best album.
You bent my ear on this for so long when I still quite rightly maintain that T-Shirt Weather is the best song I ever did.
Oh, no, God, no. Warmer Corners is...
But Warmer Corners is a better album.
Yes.
It just doesn't have their best song.
True.
But now you're telling me there's some other fucking album I've never heard of that's their best album?
It depends on the sound you're going for. Personally, I think Warmer Corners is their best album, but it is their most twee. It's the album where they brought in horns, and I love the horns in Warmer Corners. Untidy Towns is their best, more traditional indie album, where it's just the three-piece band, which is still great, but fuck Warmer Corners. Did you enjoy Warmer Corners?
Yeah, I fucking love
Excellent.
it. I disagree with you about what the best song on that album is, though.
You don't think it's... what do you think is the best song?
I have to...
Not Sunlight in a Jar.
No, that's the second best.
I
did
mean, I
message you
love
at the
all of
time
them.
just to-
I love the music from Next Door is a favourite.
No.
Young and Dumb.
No.
Even the title track,
Young and
Pick Up
Dumb.
in Your Happiness. Young and Dumb is
No,
your...
Young and
yeah.
Dumb. Young and Dumb is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a great album.
Melodically, I mean, it's obviously not as... It's fairly shallow lyrically.
Yeah.
It's not... But melodically, I think it's so close to T-shirt weather. It's nipping at its heels.
Well, see, this is the problem. I know that there's several bands that I've already put you onto, so I had to scrap... Like, I can't give you a Lucksmiths album because I know now that you're familiar enough with them. You already messaged me after my guest spot on the Countdown about Noah and the Whale. Have you listened to their album yet?
I have listened to... I got two.
Yeah.
Because from memory, I think... I did get the one that's got Love and Orchestra.
Yeah.
Because that song was the best thing in that entire episode of the Countdown.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to remember the name of the other one because I haven't even fucking.
The other
unwrapped it
album is Last Night on Earth, I believe. Yeah.
yet. Oh, probably you'd know. It's still got the shrink wrap.
Yeah.
But based on that first one, I was confident enough when I saw it at a good price. I went, may as well get
Nice.
it now.
Oh, I'm glad that you'll be giving Charly Bliss some love because I think that I don't understand. Like, this happens to me all the time where I listen to a band and I'm like, how are these guys not the biggest band on the planet? Like, I think Charly Bliss are so talented. They are just, like I said, I think she's a great lyricist. I love the music and I can't wait to at some point task you with their second album as well, which is wildly different but just as enjoyable. So, all right.
I promise to avoid it assiduously so that I can come at it fresh if that happens.
Well, so what are you going to task me with for next week?
It's almost like a week off school because I'm only giving you a 4-track EP.
Hey, that's nice.
It's very nice. So back in the 90s at uni, which is where a lot of my music taste comes from, of stuff that's not from the 60s and 70s and that sort of thing. Triple J, as you know, occasionally do a thing called Live at the Wireless, where they get bands in, do a live set and broadcast it. And they used to put out compilations of live tracks. By far the best of these that they ever did was, I think it's Volume 2, which is pretty much impossible. It took me about 10 years when my tape died to find a CD that I got on Discogs from some person in Calgary in Canada or something.
Yeah.
But it's got everything. It's got a raw and spoken word track. It's got Pop Will Eat Itself. You've got Violent Femmes on there from memory. Mud Honey. It's just a 90s extravaganza. And my favourite track on that was always this track called Benchtop by Melanie Oxley and Chris Abrahams, whose names which will mean nothing to anyone outside Australia and probably nothing to most people inside Australia. Yep. But I immediately went searching for this song because I loved it so much. And it was on a EP called Resisting Calm.
Yeah.
Which is it and 3 other songs. They subsequently did other albums together in that partnership, which are great, but they're not as good as Resisting Calm. Resisting Calm is just 4 perfect songs as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, nice.
And it is on Spotify. So
Excellent.
You don't have to do what I did, which is go searching and spend more on postage than on the disc itself to get a copy from somewhere in the remote other part of the world. So, yeah, I was going to have to rip it and send it to you, but then I found the whole fucking thing on Spotify and I could have saved myself the trouble. So I'll send you a link to that. And I am very keen to hear what you think of it.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is
In
going to
fact,
be...
what we should do when we put the app up, we should put the Spotify links.
Yes.
In so that patrons can go and listen to it before the next step, so that they've heard it before we talk about
Absolutely, that's what we'll do. I'll put up the Spotify link and the Apple Music link.
it. Yeah. Do it for Guppy as well. We kind of missed the boat, but at least people can then go and if they want to, and they should, because we obviously both think it's pretty bloody good. Go and expand your musical horizons, people.
Awesome. All right. Well, this is fun. This has been really good, and I'm looking forward to continuing doing this.
Enjoying this immensely.
Yeah, and especially for you patrons. I'm sorry, I do know that we've neglected you a little of late, but we will try keep up with this at least fortnightly, if not weekly. So, alrighty then. Thanks. I don't know how to sign this off because there's no...
Thank you. I'm the one that got a... you haven't listened to your thing yet. So thank you for the recommendation.
No worries.
And thank you, patrons, for your support. We love you.
We'll catch you
dearly.
next week.
I loved